human. Play Damjat, human.
Hello, and welcome to another Pirate Scum Gaming build review. Tonight we are taking a look at Bowel Anti-Proton Beam Overload. And yes, Bowel Anti-Proton Beam Overload is a viable build. And Bowel Anti-Proton is good for not only tanking, but also DPSing. And I will be showing you that tonight in the ISC that is coming up in a few, as well as the parse explanation. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the ship. For this build, I am using the Kelvin Timeline D7 Heavy Destroyer. This is my favorite D7 design out of all of them. I absolutely love this ship. It is versatile, it is fast, it is good for torpedoes as well as beams. So let's go ahead and take a look at this bad boy. Yeah, this ship is just absolutely beautiful. This is probably quite possibly my favorite ship. So let's go ahead and take a look at the build. Alright, first up, let's go ahead and take a look at the core components. We have your Elite Fleet Intervention Proto-Matter Deflector. This comes from the Fleet Colony. You're using this because of the crit severity and crit chance buff that it gives you. Next up is the Prevailing Innervated Impulse Engine. This is the tactical variant available in the competitive rep. You're using this for the 300% flight speed, 350% flight turn rate upon use of tactical abilities. Next up is the Mycelial Harmonic Matter Antimatter Core. This comes from your Discovery rep. Now the reason I'm using this one is a two-piece that I have with the Tilly's Modified Shield. So let's go and take a look at that. Alright, here we go. Nothing lasts forever, plus 120% hull regeneration. So yeah, this is definitely handy in ISC, where the Borg are trying to blow you to bits. And believe me, the Borg will try to blow you to bits. So yeah, this is a good two-piece to use. Alright, of course here is the Tilly's Review Pending Modified Shield. Nice thing about this one is your weapon attacks cause enemy shields to receive 11.5% increased damage for 10 seconds based on shield power. Now let's see here. Now my shield power is set pretty low. I could take some of the power out of my engines and put it in the shields to buff that number up a little bit, but I'm perfectly happy where it is. Besides, I like to go fast. Alright, now let's look at the offensive capabilities here. First up, we have the Dual Overcharge Delphic Anti-Proton Beam Bank. And the reason I am using this one is the Delphic Capacitor Overload. At 10 stacks, this weapon gains free Beam Overload 1 firing mode. Now this Beam Overload firing mode is the original kind, not the updated one where you get several shots with it. This is a one and done process, but it procs very often, as you will see in the ISC. So I'm getting a lot of shots of this freebie Beam Overload. And yeah, I can't say that I am disappointed with that. This does very well. This is actually the number 2 damage ability on my parse, which I will show you later. And then we got 3 of these Bowel Anti-Proton Dual Beam Banks re-engineered for crit D times 4, because this tune is an engineer, and that is the preferred mods for an engineer. And the reason I'm using the reason I wanted to do this because Bowel Anti-Proton have this neat ability. It's called Bowel Refraction. So that means whenever these hit a target, it's going to bounce off and hit another target. And if you watch my tank video, I explained that is why these are so good for tanking. And now I'm going to explain to you why these are so good for beam overload. For aft weapons, I have the Baul Linked Sentry Anti-Proton Omni, as well as the console for it. So I'm getting a two-piece. So let's take a look at that. Alright, Oppressive Balance. Baul Anti-Proton weapons chain an additional time. Now, Baul Anti-Proton deal a lot of damage under beam overload. So that beam overload is going to hit its primary target, refract off to another target, and then refract off to one more target. Dealing, as you can see here, Baul Refraction deals 100% bonus damage, so that is a lot of damage going out. Which is why I decided to do this, because I want to see just exactly what I could do with this. Now this is not a high-end build by any stretch of the imagination. This is a pure theme build. That is why you see the Delphic beam there instead of the Disco beam. As I wanted to do an anti-proton build, and I wanted to see what it could do with the Baul. And with the Baul Refraction, each shot chains to an additional target for 5% of attack damage. So that is a whole lot of damage going out. Not to mention this console gives a good amount of anti-proton damage and a bit of hull capacity. So you have the Dark Matter Quantum Torpedo. This comes from your Discovery rep. And I like this one. This is a very good energy weapon torpedo because of the dot it puts on the target called Dark Matter Dissolution. Okay, here we go. Add a stack of Dark Matter Dissolution, which is 186.3 physical damage every 1 second for 20 seconds. Critical strikes add 2 stacks. So you know this is in play when your target disintegrates in a purple poof cloud. As you will see it in the ISC that we run later, there are some cubes and a bunch of spheres that just kind of dissolve into a purple poof cloud. That is a Dark Matter Dissolution. And this does very well for itself. I can't say I'm disappointed with this. This is a very good torpedo. Alright, we have the Kinetic Cutting Beam. This is here for the Omega Weapon Amplification 2-piece. This one also did fairly well for itself on the parse, which I'll show you later. So let's go ahead and look at that 2-piece. Alright, here we go. Omega Weapon Amplifier for 5 seconds. Plus 10 weapon power, plus 5% weapon power drain resistance, and minus 500% weapon power cost. That means you're going to have a chance to proc this 5% weapon power cost buff, where it's going to allow you to have all your weapon power maxed for about 5 seconds. Means you can have a lot more damage going out. Let's go take a look at that console while we're thinking about it. Alright, here we go. Simulated module. Bit of crit chance, bit of crit good amount of crit severity, plus 5 weapon power setting. You get some damage control buff from it, as well as some control expertise. But like I said, you're using this for the 2-piece. The Omega Weapon Amplifier. And as for other weapons, we have the Soliton Wave Impeller. This is the best experimental weapon in the game. This comes off of the T6 Ryzian Corvette. And like I tell everybody, even if it's a ship you don't think you're going to need, do the event anyway. You never know when it's going to part off of that thing, it's going to come back and be good. Such as the experimental weapon from the T6 Ryzian Corvette. Personally, I'm not going to fly that ship. I don't like it. But this experimental weapon, can't beat it. Nice amount of radiation damage. And the other nice thing about this, this does not work. Unlike most experimental weapons, this doesn't work off of weapon power. This works off of engine power. So the higher your engine power is, the faster this shoots, the more damage it does. And this works very well with Chemosite, by the way. Alright, we have Energy Amplifier. This is on level 10 of your Beam R&D. We have Deuterium Surplus. Now, before this was added to the R&D store, you had to go do a pain-in-the-ass mission at the Alhana system once a day to get just a few of these things. Now you can craft these things ad infinitum. But what the caveat is, you have to go do the mission Skirmish, which is in the available tab under the Spectre's Arc. After that, you got to go do that pain-in-the-ass patrol. And afterwards, you can make as many of these things as you want. You can make these things till your hand turns blue and falls off. Alright, we have Reactive Armor Catalyst. This comes from the Broken Circle mission in the Iconian rep. Or not only rep, the Iconian Story Arc. Pardon. You get hit points as well as some temporary hit points. This is a good oh shit button to hit. Alright, we have the Kobayashi Maru Transponder. This was from last year's Kobayashi Maru event. This guy poops out random buffs to bonus damage, max hull, damage resistance, max shields, and speed turn. You'll see me call this guy up and let it start doing its thing about 25 seconds before the briefing ends in the ISE. This is a must-have for a device slot. Again, like I said, do all the events, run them all, get the reward from it, because you never know when it's going to come in handy. Alright, next up we have the Bioneuron Fusion Circuits. This is Lobby Store. You get a good amount of hull capacity, large amount of crit severity, and some control expertise. We've talked about this guy already. And this console should not need an explanation because everybody talks about it. The DPI RAM, the best damn console in the game. Currently, the only way to get this thing is to sell blood, body parts, and some loved ones, because the ship is trading for a ludicrous amount of money. Now, before the faction wall came down, KDF could get this thing in a box on the exchange. Well, that's how I got my grubby little hands on it. So nowadays, if your rich uncle or rich relative leaves you money, that's probably the best way to get it. Otherwise, be prepared to sell blood, body parts, and loved ones, like I said. Here we have Domino. This one come off the Bajorian Interceptor. This was an anniversary event ship. Again, do the anniversary events. Get the ship, because you never know when a part off of it is going to be meta. This gives phaser damage and accuracy. Phaser damage isn't doing me any good because I'm not running phaser. Accuracy, yeah, you gotta be able to hit the target to kill it. But I'm using this for the clicky. The 25% firing cycle haste for energy weapons, 25% bonus all damage, 25% recharge speed for bridge officer abilities, and 100% recharge speed for torpedoes. So when this is going off, I'm firing torpedoes left, right, and center. Alright, we talked about the Baul Link Sentry already. So let's talk about this guy, the Alliance Tactics. This comes off the Tamara Raider. This was last anniversary's ship console. Again, do the events, do the anniversaries, get the ships, because you never know when a part's going to be useful. This one gives you a bit of anti-proton damage, a bit of starship weapon amplification, but I'm using it for the clicky. The Aligned Bombardment. Heavy anti-proton damage, and damage buffs to 90-degree targeting arc. This thing, you're going to see two big red blobs of anti-proton damage come shooting out of me. That's this console. It's 25% bonus all damage, 25% weapon shield penetration. Shield penetration, that's always important. As well as a good amount of anti-proton damage ×2 with a good amount of shield pen. I like this console. You can click it once for this ability, And you can click it again. Let me show this off. Alright, here we go. For up to a minute after activating this console, it can be activated a second time to apply a powerful burst of flight speed, turn rate, and control resistance. This is a good console to use from trying to transition from the left to right side. So basically, fire this thing off, shoot it at the transformer. After it pops and the other spheres pop and the other garbage is knocked out, pop this a second time to get yourself over to the right side. Toot sweet. And rinse and repeat. Alright, we have the Fakiri Torment engine. This plays quite well with Ball Anti-Proton as well as Chemocyte. 39.4% increased non-hazard damage over time. 39.4% increased radiation. So that's the that's your Soliton Wave Impeller. That's your Chemocyte. So yeah, good console to have. This one comes from the Klingon Civil War story arc. Alright, we have 3 vulnerability locators from your Fleet Spire, as well as I threw in a vulnerability exploiter for flavor. This also comes from your Fleet Spire. Let's take a look at specializations. Specializations, you see I'm running Intel primary, strategist secondary, Intel for the flanking bonuses, and strategist also for the damage bonuses. Now, if you'd like to know more about how the specializations work, check out my friend MC Stu. He just put out a video regarding how the specializations work. Highly, highly, highly recommend you check it out. If you're not already subscribed to his channel, go on over there, smash the subscribe button like it owes you money. Ring that bell so you know when MC Stu drops another one of his awesome videos. That way you won't miss out. Alright, let's move right along to Bridge Officer 2 traits. Alright, we got Adaptive Offense from the Borg Lockbox. You get crit chance, and then you get some crit severity from it. Yeah, Superior Beam Training. This one, everyone gets beam training, about 5.5%. But if you go to your K-13 fleet holding and visit one of the officers there, if you don't know where that officer is, go check out my fleet holding tour guide videos, and it will show you. This costs about 100k fleet credits, and it is completely worth it. It bumps up that stock to about 7.5%, so you get some bonus weapon power here, or bonus weapon damage here. EPS overload. I call this the good day to die for engineers. EPS power transfer gives weapon buff based on highest power level. So based on whatever power level is highest at a time, via the list below, you will see what bonuses you get. Alright, we have the self-modulating fire. This is Shield Pen. Gotta get through the shields to get to the hull to kill them. This is a must-have for beam overload builds. Unconventional systems. I'm using this to shave a few seconds off the cooldown of my universal consoles. And as you will see on the Bridge Officer station when I talk about that, both emit unstable warp bubble and tractor beam both proc this. With emit unstable warp bubble, the only engineering ability that does that. Interesting, huh? Alright, we have Terran targeting. This is exchange. Flat crit severity, 15%. Context is for kings. This one also from the exchange. If you did take damage, you get all damage resistance rating. If you didn't take damage, you get 1% bonus all damage bonus. Alright, Intel Agent Attaché for the cooldowns. Fleet Coordinator for bonus damage. Odds are you're going to be flying a team of 5. 5 times 2 is 10%. Formula effect. This is new kid on the block. This just came out. 200 Lobby. Everyone's using this instead of Aux to Bat. This frees up 3 DOF slots as well as 2 Bridge Officer stations. You have 17.5% chance to recover the recharge time of all other Bridge Officer abilities up to their shared category cooldowns. So yeah, this is a game changer. Alright, Starship traits. I have Emergency Weapon Cycle. Available to you from the Arbiter, the Kurak, and the Morrigu. This one is minus 50% weapon power cost for 30 seconds, and firing cycle haste. Preferential targeting from the NX refit. This is in the lobby store or the exchange. Upon using fire at will or scatter volley, 100% bonus, 100% damage to beam overload. Super weapon ingenuity. This comes off of the Adolith Dreadnought. Increases the duration of beam overload by 5 seconds. This is the beam overload version of Withering Barrage. Terran Goodbye. This one is off of the Mirror Warship. You get crit chance from defeating foes. Weapon Emitter Overdrive. This is from the Juggernaut. And increases your we got when using a beam or cannon bridge officer ability for 20 seconds. Increases weapon power drained by weapons by 50%, but there are ways around that. 10% crit chance for directed energy weapons and plus 50 accuracy rating. You gotta be able to hit your target to kill it. Alright, Strike from Shadows. This comes from the Imchla Bird of Prey or the Sharan Light Escort. You get a bit of crit chance and a bit of bonus all damage. It also decreases threat gen by 60%, which is highly desirable. If the enemy can't see you, they can't kill you. Alright, for Space Rep, we have Tyler's Duality from the Disco Rep. 4.8% crit chance based on hull capacity, with max being 7.5% at 200,000 hull. So the higher the hull, the bigger the buff. Advanced Targeting Systems from the Iconian Rep. Not Iconian, Dyson Rep, I'm sorry. Flat 20% crit severity. And mind you, these are all rank 2. Controlled Countermeasures from Temporal. 9.4% bonus weapon damage, energy weapon damage, and projectile damage against controlled targets. Odds are, if you are in an ISC, you have a controller with you, and there you go. Precision, crit chance. Got this from New Romulus Rep. And last but not least, we have Magnified Firepower. This is from the Jemadar Rep. The Gamma Rep, I'm sorry. I think Gamma, I say Jemadar. Yeah, that goes. Alright, for the active space reputation, you have these things. I tend to use this one, as well as this one while DPSing, and these two while I'm tanking. This is utterly useless. It's garbage. On to bridge officer stations. Alright, we have Chemosite for the spreading around the radiation and debuffing damage resistance. Scatter Volley to proc preferential targeting. Torch Spread to spread around all of that dark matter dissolution goodness. Attack Pattern Beta 3 for the debuff. Emergency Power for engines to help get me around. Distributed Targeting to get around my beam overload shots. Focused Assault for the bonus damage and bonus accuracy. And the main damage dealer for this build, Beam Overload 3. Engineering Team, this is a heal. Here's that Unstable Warp Bubble I mentioned earlier. This is a damage debuff, flight speed debuff, and they can't launch pets. So this is pretty good against a group of spheres. Emergency Power to weapons to proc emergency weapon cycle. Tractor Beam again to proc unconventional systems. And Very Cold in Space, which is a flight speed debuff, as well as a flight friction debuff. And you'll see this does actually pretty good on the parse under pets category. I will show this off then. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at our duty officers. The unsung heroes of any build. Okay, first off, I have Dex, who is my projectile weapons officer. Gives me crit bonus. That's my tongue stops working. Chance for stacking, crit chance, buff on firing projectiles. This guy's name, who I'm not even going to try to pronounce, my Suilban Energy Weapon Officer, he has a chance for beam overload to gain 35% field shield pen. 2447. See here, on use of tactical abilities, 50% chance to set power levels to maximum. This procs quite often, I'm happy to report. And you have Nainith here, who is my other Suilban Energy Weapon Officer. Again, for 35% chance, 35% shield pen chance, these stack. Next up is Emergency Con Hologram. This guy is excellent. It's in the get him from the Phoenix boxes. Recharges evasive maneuvers when emergency power to engines is activated. And I'll show this off in a second. All right, we have this Tholian, whose name I'm really not sure how to pronounce. All right, Space Warfare Specialist, bonus damage against the Borg. And here's a little DPS hack for you. Neil Falconer, he's also in the Phoenix box. He counts for space DP. He counts for space increased damage against the Borg. So you can technically double up on that space warfare specialist. Kind of cool, huh? All right, that does it for duty officers. So let me show how this emergency weapon, the emergency con hologram, works. So you're doing the mission, you're doing ISE, you're getting ready to move. So you're gonna have to activate your evasive maneuvers to get you around. Going off, going off, going off. You're moving, moving, moving. You're getting to your target. Okay, it's now in cooldown. Now hit emergency powered engines. Boom. Evasive maneuvers is now up and ready to use again. That's a nice little trick. And like I said, that duty officer is in the Phoenix box, so I highly recommend you get it. So that just leaves us with the ISE and the parse explanation. So sit tight. ISE coming right up. welcome to the parse explanation portion of the video. I am at James Bryce. This is my friend at Shooper. He's a fleet member and a very good friend of mine. You got at Vesti, who is my good friend Mud. Everyone knows who Stu1701 is, the top hat of wisdom. And if you guys aren't subscribed to Stu1701's YouTube channel, what the hell are you waiting for? Go over there, hit and smash that subscribe button like it owes you money, and ring the bell. That way you know when Stu here drops another one of his awesome videos. This guy is a tank wizard, as you can see in the right over here. Total damage in, total attacks in. These are the two stats you look at a tank. This guy does tanking like nobody's business. And we have Grumpy Old Nord here. He is another good friend of mine. He was my science controller for the build, and of course Stu was tanking. And here is my number. So the question posed earlier, does Baul anti-proton, does it DPS well? The answer is yes. This was a very competitive run, and the Baul anti-proton did very well for itself. So let's go ahead and look at the combat analysis, and we'll take a deep dive into that. Okay, here we go. So, Baul anti-proton, max one hit, about 290k, not bad. That is really not bad. And like I said earlier, the Delphic anti-proton was number 2 on my biggest damage dealers. This one did just about a little over 237k. Chemosite-laced weaponry did very well for itself. Kinetic Cutting Beam did very well for itself. The Dark Matter Torpedo also did very well for itself here. So yeah. Here's the Vatikiri Torment Engine right here. So let's go ahead and look at pets. Okay, here we go. Like I said, Very Cold in Space does very good for itself. We got quite a few instances of it here. The most amount of DPS I got off of it was about 22k, which isn't bad at all. So yeah, overall, Baul anti-proton represented itself very good in this instance. Now, can they DPS higher? The answer is yes. There are supported runs you can do where you are the primary damage dealer in the run. So yes, it has the possibility of being higher. Like I said earlier in this build, this is not a high-end build I'm doing here. This was a theme build, anti-proton. And I could have probably got a higher number if I really wanted to make this a high-end run. I could have thrown the Disco dual wide-angle beam bank on there and probably gotten a little higher. But like I said, this was a theme build with the Baul anti-proton and anti-proton in general. So, with that being said, if you guys want to use Baul anti-proton as a DPS beam flavor, do it. Because you can see it's competitive. It does a good job. And it does have the potential to be even higher in a supported run. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it informational. And until next time, like I always say, don't go by the book, think like a pirate. Good night, everybody.
Like all Starfleet, you talk and you talk, but you have no gramba.